Michele and I had this brainstorm to get together and be able to have, gosh, a conversation and to say hello and just be able to talk about this process that so many of us are familiar with and have such an appreciation for. So if you don't know, Michele Cassou is an author of 8+ books. She has a soon-to-be published memoir autobiography that should be out very soon, 2 weeks, maybe a month. I say a month only so Michele won't have any pressure to meet that 2 week if I say 2 weeks. So what we thought would be fun to do is open the conversation to questions. And so I thought I would start with letting Michele say hello to everybody and just greet everybody. And then we'll just kind of kick it off from there. I'll ask a question or two, and then we'll take questions from the crowd, and we'll go from there. So, all right. So Michele, say hello, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming.
You know, I was thinking of, like a first question that came to mind for me was, and this is a question that I hear so much, that people who want to put their toe in this water, put their toe in the water of this process, they have a hard time believing that not having any experience in painting, they really can't believe that you can do this and not have some sort of experience in holding a paintbrush.
Yes, I can really relate to that. People think that they can, not that they cannot paint, but they will not come up with anything if they don't start thinking and planning and organizing. It's very hard for people to believe it's possible. So the only thing to do is to try it. Because the less you know, the better it is, because this process is about forgetting everything you learned, which means everything you are conditioned to do, everything you have learned, everything you have accumulated inside of you. So it's like you have to come from a fresh place, a new place. You have to come for the present, from the present. And that is the hardest thing we can ask anybody. I often tell my students, it's the hardest thing we could ask from you is to really not respond to everything you have learned, everything that's conditioned. But you see, this is practice. So first you realize you can do a line and you can follow that line from nowhere. And then later on, it guides you. You can see, you can feel the current inside of you guiding you to what it wants to do. But you have to stop grabbing the end product.
And one second.
Mute.
I've got you, Michele. I was muting all participants, and I muted.
I'm out.
If you could self-mute, that would be best.
They tell me to push a bunch of things on my computer, but I
don't push anything. You're good. You're good. Don't push anything. I'll take care of it on this side. Don't push anything.
This and this and this. Oh, no. I want to be now in the present and do what I feel like. So anyway, it's true, Cherie, that it's very hard for people to believe that they can paint really spontaneous. And that's why we say it's magical at the beginning. The first time you have a stroke of paint and you have no idea what you're going to do, and it guides you from the inside. It does what it needs to do. So it's not about doing what you think and what you want to do. It's about doing what you need to do at the moment for the pure expression of your whole being. And you know, it's a hard thing to drop all these habits that we have about planning everything, wanting to have a certain kind of result. So when you want to have a certain kind of result, it's already done. So there is no creativity, no pure invention there. Even if you can choose color and this and that, you are not really free. So we are talking about freedom. So it's hard to believe how free we can be. Not just a little bit, but we can really be free in a very deep way. And this will happen with practice. But it's very important to be acquainted, to be in contact with the principle, the principles that, yes, you can do it because it is given to everyone. It's a right of birth. It's a birthright. Creativity is a birthright. It's like it's part of our being. And it has been buried along the years because often, society is the way we have been brought up, the teacher and all that. So we are unburying it, but it is there. It has been there all along. So nobody should ever worry about, am I creative or not? Because everybody is. And then we find ways to develop that, and the joy it can bring to touch into what is really deep inside of you. Because when you come from an idea, you can be glad that you painted your idea and you got your idea. But when you come from your intuition, it's a complete different experience. It's a whole being, the whole body that is happy. Because it's in harmony with what it's doing. It's not right, left, it's not up there, it's not to please anyone, it's just in harmony. So it's pure expression of who you are. And this is what we're working with. And I think this is why people, when they start, they want to keep going, because when you start touching that delicious event, that of expression, I mean, you want more. When I first started, I said, oh my God, I'm so much behind, because I realized I had never done it. I was like 21, 22, and I had never really done pure expression. So when I started touching it, I said, I'm so much behind, I'd have to catch up. So that's why all my life I've been running to paint as much as I could. Okay.
So I think even what you're pointing to is like, because our mind has such an agenda when we come to the paper, and I'll say it very innocently, we don't even realize there's such an agenda from our mind. And so when we really show up and make a mark on a piece of paper, that it really introduces us to so much more than just what our mind has made up about expression and what all of that, we get outside of that.
We get outside the agenda. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Because we have agendas that we know and we have agendas that we don't know. We can be totally conditioned without knowing it. And at the beginning, it's very interesting because at times we realize our condition, we are or another layer. So we free layer after layer, but often it is unconscious. Because of course I need to do what pleases me. I need to do what I'm going to want to do. This is the way we brought up. But then we realize there is something more powerful than that, and more, that as a guidance from inside. That is not coming just from the mind. So we drop agenda. This work is a lot about dropping the agenda, and we have all kind of agenda. We have the agenda about the way it looks, aesthetic agenda. We have the meaning. We want a certain meaning out of the painting. We want the painting to reflect who we think we are. I mean, there is a lot of agendas there. Or we want to please somebody, or we want to impress people. I mean, all that are agenda. Can you imagine getting free of all that, and just moving on your own? That will be this is just wonderful. So, but first we have to realize we have agendas, because some people don't even know when they first start. Well, I don't have any agenda, but we do have the agenda. Okay?
And I think even we don't realize we have an agenda that somehow this painting means something about me,
Oh, yeah. That's a very big thing that stops people. Not only they think that the painting means something about them, but they think they know exactly what it means. So people they think they know what the painting, what they paint, what it's going to mean. And I tell you, it might mean 5% of what you think, but no more, because what it's going to express, what intuition is going to express, you want to express the mystery about you, the unknown about you. So whatever you can think about your painting, it's not going what it's about, mostly. So it might be a little part, but mostly. So the painting is there to have you reveal yourself. So it's not going to give you all things that you know by heart, what happened in your life, what kind of person you are. And then you're going to discover you are not the kind of person you thought you were. And who are you? This is a great adventure of discovering, who you are not, because that's what you're going to discover. And that's very fascinating. Because it brings you to the path of inquiry, true inquiry about who you really are. And you are a lot more and a lot different most of the time of who you think you are. This is why we touch into the spiritual realm also, because it's about who am I and what am I doing in here? and this little ball that keeps turning, Yeah, time and space, what do we know? Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, if people have questions, please go to the participant box and raise your hand, and I'll call on you. Or I can leap into another question, but I will, even if somebody just waves their hand real quick, until you can find the participant box. Does somebody else have a question?
Nobody is too curious because they're not painting right now.
They're curious. They're just not knowing when I was going to hit the green light and say, ask your question.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Sutton, great.
Hey, so I'm painting, and all of a sudden,
fine.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so that time when you feel like
Sure. What is it?
The time when you feel like the top of your head's coming off, like you just got so much energy.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So the more I do that,
For the boomers. Oh.
the more I do that would be a less feeling, like less anxious. What? Time out?
Pause for just a second, Sutton. So if you please self-mute bottom left, and then if there's somebody walked in the room, it won't break the
Okay.
Okay, great. So, Sutton, please continue.
Oh, okay. So I'm painting, and so then all of a sudden, I get that big energy rush in my head.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Now, this is the National Theater down on Pennsylvania Avenue, right?
What?
Please mute yourself.
I don't know.
Okay.
All right, I don't know. Anyway, you get a big energy rush. The more you paint, it just happens sometimes. You just ride it out and just keep painting. That's what I've always done.
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted Michele to talk about that high energy. It's almost like you're anxious, but you're not. You're just in it. And I just wanted you to talk about that a little bit if you could. Because it is, sometimes it feels like it's anxiety.
Well, that is strange. What happens is that when you paint, all energy in your body is affected, because the intuition wants to open up the pathway to that energy that passes through the whole body. It's that passes through the whole body. As you paint, when you start going deep and opening up, it's going to bring at times some rush of energy. Sometimes I compare it to a wave. The waves start very, very slow, and then it keeps, until it just and fall back. So the painting process happens in cycle. So during this cycle, if you open up, you're going to see your energy move. But this is what we want. This is healing energy. This is good energy. You might be anxious because it's new, and you don't recognize it, and you don't, you don't know where you are going. What's happening. But you are melting. You are joining the universal energy that pass through everyone. And at that time, and it wants to unblock everything in the pathway, because all of us, once I had made a lot of drawing about that, you have the energy passing through you, but there are deposits on the channel that carries the energy. There is a lot of deposit with all the belief, the concept, the right and the wrong. There is all kind of deposit along the way. And as these deposits are cracking and moving up, you might have some special sensation.
Okay.
If your mind wants to say anxiety, I don't think it's anxiety. I think it's very good, and it's trying to test your strengths to be able to take what is new and move with what is new.
So Michele, we have a question on the message board that someone asks, if you've been away from the practice for a while, you've had experience with the process, but you want to re-engage. They're trying to re-engage and it's proving to be kind of difficult. So do you have any pointers for re-engaging if you've been away from the painting process for a while?
Yeah, first you have to realize that whatever you did in the past, whatever you painted, whatever you opened up, it's still open. It does not close back. So I will say at the beginning, at least for the first couple of hours, just be so free. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Tell yourself that painting does not count. It is just about really putting color, going, not hesitating. You know, so you can find back the spontaneity. Because if you come and expect a really nice painting or something that you think you might have done, it's going to contract you. So take it like a child and just fool around the first time you go back. The first session is just for freedom and fun and doing anything.
It doesn't need to be special. I think that's something that it doesn't just get brush to paper.
Yeah, and then you will see at a certain point, a feeling will move inside of you. I don't know what will happen on the painting, maybe nothing, but you will have a feeling inside of you. And you will have this kind of delicious feeling of creativity, you know, trying to pierce inside in your chest, inside of you. And when that happens, you will know that you are ready to paint in a different way. But first you want to open the door. And to open the door, don't get discouraged. Everybody can open the door. If you have been there before, it will come back. But you just have to work at loosening the door, huh?
Okay. So, Jamie, if hopefully that answers your question. If not, just send me a message on the message board. So, Vicki, you have your hand raised. Would you like to ask Michele your question? I'll unmute you, or you might have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi.
Hi,
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
I'm from England originally, and I live in America, and at the moment I'm in Spain. So,
oh, you're in Spain, okay.
I am in Spain. I haven't really, I've read a lot of your books and watched the videos, and it feels to me that whenever I look at an empty piece of paper or a canvas, I almost like freeze, like I just don't know how to get that flow started.
Well,
have you got any advice on just how to?
Yes, I'm really glad you freeze when you look at this white piece of paper. Do you know why you freeze? You freeze because inside of you, it knows that there is something totally unknown that wants to move. There is something that needs to be expressed. So this is a fear of the white void. But the white void is important when you have a reaction like that, because it's telling you that there is a lot inside of you. You see, if there was not much inside of you, you won't have a reaction. So you have to understand that the white void, thank God there is a white void that we can face, because it challenges us. Do you see sometimes people go to painting and they fill the whole paper with blue, with red, with whatever, because they cannot stay in the white? It's the same. It's like they are challenged. So in a way, you are a person that is very sensitive probably, and that's very challenged by the white. But I find that intriguing. I wouldn't stop. I'm paralyzed. Great, let's then go and take the adventure of doing anything that might come until you open the door, you see? Okay, does that help?
Yes, that helps. Thank you, Michele.
Yeah.
So Michele, I think that raises such a great question that, that discomfort of just wanting to kill the white when you get in front of the paper, because, we just kind of, that discomfort of just standing with just a mark versus doing a great big background and then painting on top of it, because I think that's just a layer of conditioning that is so invisible to us until we see.
In our life, everything is so full everywhere. There is so much activity, so much everything that we perceive all the time. It's like we learn to love the silence of the white void, you know, like nobody is putting their thought, their, you know, their rules, their technique into it. You are just standing in front of this white void all by yourself. I say sometimes imagine you are all alone on top of the earth by yourself. Nobody is telling you anything. And how do you respond, you know, with this white void? But of course, you don't want to think about you're going to show it to people or what the result is going to be, because that is going to really paralyze you even more. So you want to treat this kind of painting as a process. If you treat it as something you're going to do and be successful at it, it's just going to paralyze you. You cannot move towards the good and the bad, the success, you know, wanting success, not wanting to fail, and then be free. So it's challenging you to be free all along on top of the earth, and you are with your white thing. What do? Nobody is going to judge it. Nobody is going to see it. It's just for yourself.
And you know, one other thing, Michele, that you said, which I think is so helpful, it's like the white of the paper is a void, but it's very pregnant. You know, it's not like there's nothing there.
Of course. This is why it's disturbing you, because there is so much in it. You know, so when people think they are blank sometimes, it's because they are so full that they contract. It's not that they are blank. It might be just the opposite. They have too much inside.
And so what do you recommend when they're so full, but you and I know they're full, but they can't make a mark, or their mind is convinced them they're locked. They're locked down. There's nothing there.
I'm going to tell them, make yourself, take a color from your palette and make yourself do a dot at least. Get your brush to get started for 10 minutes. If you have to, force yourself to put just marks, paint, whatever. You want the movement to start inside of you before it can pick up. It's like you started to run, you want momentum, or you just don't start instantly. So I will say, put a dot. If that's all you can do, 2 dots, 3 dots, tiny little line. You have a big paper, put a little line like that, 3 dots, and then you say, oh, what's the point and stuff. Take another color, put another 3 dots, and keep doing that for 10 minutes, but do not stop. You see, because every time you stop, your mind will come and judge what you do and judge the process and tell you you're not doing it, it's not working. So keep putting these marks for 10 minutes. Force yourself. If it's, that's all. I'm not telling you to force yourself all the time, just to get started.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mind is very stubborn, and it's going to, you know, to fight you. You know, it just keeps fighting. It wants to win. And we want the spontaneity to win from the mind. So it's like the mind say, oh, you do something. If you do something, it has to be worthwhile. It has to mean something. It has to be beautiful. You don't listen to that. You make yourself put some paint on this paper. And just that movement is an announcement of your freedom. It's a statement that you are free. So you get it to move. And if you just don't move, just, you know, go in a group that's doing that, you will see the momentum will take you. You know, it's a practice, and it's not an instant practice. And like I said before, it is the most difficult thing you can ask yourself, or a teacher can ask a student. It's the most difficult thing. It's like going against all the conditioning, all the concepts that are around painting, and there is a lot built up there. So this is really, but it's a huge work inside of you. This is why it's a transformative work. This is why it's a work that makes you move into different perception and different layer of being, because it just breaks through all this conditioning. And all our life we have been trying to be free and to break through conditioning. Well, this is a practice that works for that. So if you understand it, that's why often I tell people, well, that's great, but it is important to understand the basic at least when you get started. Because if you don't really understand the basic, what it does to you, how it moves through you, you're going to be stopped, because your mind will stop you. The mind will say, oh, you're wasting your time. It's you know, you never do something beautiful, meaningful, whatever. The mind is just going to keep arguing arguing with you. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fun, Michelle, isn't it? The prejudice the mind has against the simplest mark or a dot, you know?
No, I know. The mind thinks that what you put on the paper means it's a description of you. It thinks it's a photograph of what you really are. And then it gets really depressed because he says, I don't want to be that. I don't want to have this. This is not me, you know, this has nothing to do with me. But the mind, it thinks it's so important what you put because it thinks it's the expression of who you are. Yes, it's an expression of who you are, but it's an expression of 20 billion of who you are. So it's just like a grain of sand of who you are. You know, it's like the process itself is an expression of who you are, but not a painting. The painting is nothing, really. Whatever it means, that's we don't want. This is why we don't keep looking at what we do. We look at it as little as possible, and when it's finished, we recommend that you hide them, put them under your bed, put them somewhere. Because if you go back and look at them, you're going to think, oh, I should fix that. I should have done that. Oh my God, I'm not good, or this or that, or, you know. And then it's going to make it very hard to go back to painting. So if you keep hiding the painting you have done from yourself, you constantly face the white void that is challenging you to be real and to be free. And that's going to be much more powerful than if you have all these thoughts floating around telling you that you are not, something is wrong with you, or that you are not talented, you cannot do as good as this person and as it, you know. Yeah. So we have to be very careful how we look at the painting. So I said, you know, especially when you're stuck, don't look at your painting. Look at your hands, at your feet, at your whatever. And come close enough to your painting so you don't see it, because people step back to give an artistic look to what they have done, and then they start thinking. So I said, don't even step back, just keep very close, just see what you do with your brush, and that's enough. Yeah. So we try, sometimes it's like tricking the mind, you know, no, we're not going to give you a chance to judge. Mm-hmm. So if you stand and look for a long time or wait for inspiration, don't wait for inspiration. In our workshop, we don't wait for inspiration, right? We just go and get a brush and we put some paint. If you're not inspired to take any color, take the first one in front of you. And it will work, because when you go to your paper with the first color that was in front of you, if it's something you really don't want, your intuition will let you know to put it back and get another one. If it's what you want, you get started. So you don't need to wait for inspiration, because often we confuse inspiration with liking, you know, oh, that's my preferred color, that will be, you know, it has a reason. Intuition has no reason. It's a spontaneous growth. It's like the tree grow by themselves. You know, you don't have to push them. So they grow. Huh?
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have another question that says, my paintings can't seem to get past the scribble stage when I just let go. How do you get beyond that?
I'd like to know, how long do you mean that you have been doing just the scribble stage?
I don't know. Annie, would you unmute yourself, and if you're willing?
Just tell me how long you feel you have been kind of scribbling. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter. That's okay. So if you feel that you are really free and you just put lines there and lines there, because it could, you know, to enter into this process, like I say, it takes just a little time and a few painting. So at the beginning, most people do that. And if it lasts a little longer, first, you call it a scribble. I wouldn't call it a scribble. A scribble is like when children do like that, which could be very good sometimes to relax your hand and relax you. But if you paint, actually, what you call scribble are the fetuses of a lot of things, you know. They are the seed. They are the seed. They are the beginning of the life. So if I trust that, at a certain point, it's bound to change. But it will be good to be with a teacher at this point, because they could help you move to the next stage. Because if you're a little afraid or think it's bad, you might keep repeating it out of anxiety rather than because it wants that. But I will say for a few days, for a few sessions, The scribbling is okay. What you call scribbling is lines, right? I believe it's lines that goes all over the place. The first thing that you have to understand is that at a certain point, your line you have to become conscious of what you do. In other words, when you're making a line and you meet a line, you have to go underneath or on top. You have to be conscious that there is a choice to go. So it forces you to be present. You see, the painting is about bringing the presence. And as you meet all your lines, you're going to be on top or underneath. And as you do that, you will see something wakes up inside of you. It works every time. I do it all the time with my students. And the moment they realize that there is a depth that comes on the painting and on themselves. So they have a so-called scribble, but the scribble is becoming conscious and is getting some depth to it. So it's like you want to bring the consciousness to what you're doing, which means not thinking. It means what you meet is there. You are conscious that you meet something on the paper, that it's not a white paper. Because a scribble is like you don't care if it is, it's never on white paper, you just go. And if you do and if you let your scribble being conscious of what's underneath, great, you can do that and love it for quite a while. And it will help you move from a deeper place.
And just to your point, like noticing that you're coming up to a line versus just ignoring it, like there's nothing there. That has value. That's what you're talking about, waking up to that.
I mean, I just did it yesterday in my class. It's like it happens all the time when people start painting. They ignore. This is why, they do a painting on top of a painting. It's like ignoring it. So if you don't keep respect for your space, and when you are conscious going in, up or down, it's like you're respecting what you have done. It's like you're telling your intuition, well, it's just a line, but it's a line. I see it. I respect it. I know you have done it. And I go in. So your intuition gets really happy. And all of a sudden you feel better. And you say, wow, there's a lot of potential in my painting. I thought it was just lines going all over the place. Yeah.
And so kind of another question that's coming up is like the agenda, this process really wants to set you free from agenda. So, and I think so oftentimes the mind has a definition of freedom and wants the painter to paint to that definition of freedom, but truly there's a much deeper definition of freedom that I've heard you express, like you can't know what you don't know. So could you speak to that about layers of freedom? And
yeah, I mean, the way we have been brought up to be free, we have been brought up that freedom is doing whatever you want. That's what freedom is. You want this in your life, in the painting. Freedom is just doing whatever you want. So if you do whatever you want in a painting, you want to cross it out, you want to put it in the garbage, you want to fix it, whatever, you're just going, you're going to go to the freedom misunderstood. Because true freedom is to do what's in accordance with your inside, with your being, with your heart, with your soul, with your gut. That's what freedom is. It's not like doing everything. Oh, I'm going to eat ice cream forever. That's what we call freedom, right? I do anything I want, but that's different. I keep responding. I have the freedom to respond to what's inside of me. And that's a great skill to develop. It's a great power to develop, because the moment you can respond to what's inside of you, it's a very different. I'm free, which means there is no taboo for me. I don't have to be afraid to paint dark. I don't have to be afraid to paint strange. I don't have to be afraid to paint weird, to paint something that's so-called cartoon, to paint something childish. You see, this is the freedom. The freedom because I feel like it. Because inside of me, it wants it. So everything that it wants inside of you and you let yourself do, it's experiencing freedom. And it's a complete different freedom. And there is a lot of misunderstanding when people start this process. because they go for the other freedom. You know, I want that. I want, oh, I painted that. I don't like it. I'm going to paint over. They call that freedom. Freedom, I will say, you respond to what you painted. You don't like it? Great. Move from there. The present now is that you don't like it. What do you do when you don't like something? You know, let something come out of you and respond. And you will see it gets so powerful when you do that. Because when you tell your intuition you have failed, you know, it does not work what you do. I mean, you feel dejected. You don't want to keep painting. But when you become creative, when you don't, it's easy to be creative when you like everything and you like what you're doing, but it's when you have a problem, you know, like you don't like what you're doing, that there is a problem. So if you learn to respond to when you don't like it, then your creative strength is just bloom. And with it, the joy. And I can see people that don't like what they have been doing, when they find a way to keep going with it from intuition, to keep responding to intuition. Even if they use what I call creative distraction. Creative distraction is to listen to the feeling, even if they are negative. It's to let yourself do black when you need to. And when you respond, when you have that inside and you let it come out, it's just a wonderful feeling. And it helps you go through that bridge, you know. The deposit of the creative channel are just falling off when you do that. Because it's very important to learn to keep painting when you don't feel too well, when you don't feel too inspired, when you feel you have failed in what you have done, and you respond to that. This is the most powerful. Because if you like everything you do, you know, it does not develop your strength that much. It's good. I mean, and I type, it happens for, you know, for some long period of time, and it's wonderful. But you don't want to be broken when you don't like what you do. You want to know how to face that. And there is really a way to face it that's very powerful. And yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, Michele, it's like, when you say respond, it's not responding to the feeling like, I want black, so I'm going to cover everything up. You want to keep respect for what's on the page and respond to what's on the page, not just move with that kind of, I'm going to cover it all black.
Like, for instance, you will feel like crossing it out.
Right.
The black because you're just disappointed. So what will be the other way will be the creative way to respond. So you can paint all this so-called negative thing in a creative way. So instead of painting all black or crossing it out, you're going to come with an image that is going to express that. Intuition is going to bring that image. And if you work with a teacher, they help you at the beginning to do that. So you're going to find an image that attacks, or that's there, or that's heavy, or that falls, or that drips. I don't know what you're going to find, but you're going to find something that expresses the whole of the sense of failing and the whole of the sense of disappointment, and it's going to put it on the paper. And I call that creative destruction because it is creative and it is very powerful. So when you don't feel good, you can still be very creative. You have just to find, you're not going to say, I'm going to paint a flower or a nice sunset to feel better. That cannot work because that's a thing from the mind and it's completely controlled. But you go with that feeling inside of you that needs like to really leash out, come out. Sometimes I tell people, if you had a temper tantrum, what will you do? It doesn't work all the time, but once in a while that sentence really works because it brings them in touch with what they are trying not to do. So then we say, oh, I could paint an arrow. And everything, opens up. But they didn't dare to think that just a moment before. Before they were trying to paint a flower to make them feel good. But the moment they go with that feeling, or they see a big black cloud or something and they paint it, the release happens, and then they move on their path.
Yeah, I think that what you're pointing to is really the freedom, like you said, to respond in that moment. Like your question, if you could have a temper tantrum, what would you paint? And can you give yourself the freedom to paint what comes to you in that moment?
In the present, because it's all practice is about moving into the present. You're already there, but we are always somewhat, a few feet behind or in front. We always, with our thoughts, we're always somewhere else. We know it's difficult to really be in the present, and this painting helps you, because when you're not in the present, you get in trouble. You get stuck, you don't know what to do, and it's going to bother you until you come into the present. That's what I like about this painting. It gets you, you try to escape the present every way you can, but it's going to get you, if you don't quit, of course, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let me see what other questions we have on here. So, do you recommend painting every day? What is your viewpoint on that?
Well, I don't recommend forcing you to paint every day. Some people say, "Oh, I should be painting." I was the one that I paint every day because I wanted to, and I loved it, and I couldn't help it. I had to, but I was kind of a little more strange than other people. I think just to keep in touch with your creativity, it's good to keep it constantly alive. And I will say, it depends how much you can paint. I will say, I would recommend at least once a week. If you can afford 2 or 3 times a week, that will be wonderful. But see, you don't want to make it like a duty, because if not, you're going to stop. So what I will recommend is not to stop when you are stuck. Because if you stop when you're stuck, you're not going to come back. So make sure you work out your stuckness before you stop your painting. When you paint by yourself, because you have to want to come back. You have to.
So Michele, what you said is never stop in that dip. When you feel like you're
yes.
Don't stop. You've always said paint until you're happy, so don't stop in the dip.
Yeah, challenge yourself until something happens. The other thing is that I recommend to everybody that paints to always have an unfinished painting, because the unfinished painting is like your being all opened up, your chest it's going to call you back if you have an unfinished painting. If you just have a white piece of paper, it's going to be much harder to go back painting, and it's going to be much harder to start. Because if you have an unfinished painting, the unfinished painting, as you go on it, I tell people at least 5 minutes more on it. Even if it's just a couple of dots, it's going to bring back into that energy, that deep energy. It's going to pull you. So if you have an unfinished painting, you go back and it pulls you. I was used to start a painting even if it was 3 in the morning, because I didn't want to come the next day and find a white piece of paper. I might have dreams, I might have something happening in my life, and I might be just not quite in tune to enter that energy. So if you have an unfinished painting, it's going to bring you there. If you cannot paint, it's good to paint in groups with people that do the same thing, So I don't know if you can do it live or you can do it through the web, whatever, but I think it's important, because the mind, the moment it has a block or a difficulty, it wants to give a phone call, it wants a tea, it wants to meet a friend, it just pulls you out. So when you are with someone, you generally stay there and you sing, it encourages you, it brings the energy gathers of different people, and they bring a stronger stream. So to paint, I'll say, if you cannot paint, I say draw, just to keep in touch with the stream, You have a little pad and you draw. But it's good. And of course, if you paint a lot at a time, you need to stop more than a few days. You will see. But the first thing is to really get in touch with that very strong response inside of you, and paint as much as you can. I recommend that you paint, that you make yourself paint at least 10 minutes, like we talked before, because after 10 minutes, a different energy comes. Unless the painting sometimes pulls you immediately, but if not, so I will say force yourself for 10 minutes and then see what happens. But it's good to have a place that not everybody is going to see what you do and question it and asking and judge it. It's really important to be intimate with your painting. And it's like it's private, it's personal, you know, and sometimes you need to do some very things that make you really wide open, and you don't want people to just step in it that don't understand it. If they don't do this kind of painting, most of the time they don't understand why you paint this and how you paint it. So you keep your privacy. Yeah.
And treat it like a journal in a way of, it's precious, it's personal, it's intimate.
Yeah, so you keep it private, yeah.
So a question we have too is like, how do you get out of feeling like it's work?
I always tell people, you're not here to work. We don't work here. Yeah. But some people want they sweat on their painting. You know what makes you work? It's like the idea of right and wrong. You try to avoid the wrong and you try to go towards the right, and it's like climbing a wall, you know, that has nothing to grab, and then you it's work. It's really work. So if the painting is work, there is something that's not free inside of you. So it's a pointer. If you feel like working, it means you have not quite understood. I recommend that you read the principle or talk to someone about the principle, and that you understand that we are not applying a technique, we are not going towards success. And if you feel like work, it means you have not understood that it is your great moment of freedom and liberty, and and you are there to explore that. Mm. So work, no, we are not here to work. You shouldn't. No, you can get tired when you paint a lot. Yeah, but that's different than working, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Work is trying to achieve something, you know. Work should have a result, right? And we're not working for the result. So please don't work.
I think what you just point to is so significant, that if it feels like work, just what you said, it's such a pointer to where we've reached just a mental limitation of what we're doing, when freedom is right there on offer all the time.
Yes. Being in the present is not work, it's a joy, you know? And you will see the joy of painting will develop as time goes, and it's such a great joy that you don't want to stop. I say after a certain time, people arrive at what I call the point of no return. It's a point where they don't want to stop, because they love this incentive to be in the present, to express and all that so much that they don't want to think of not being there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so to that, Michele, another question is like, oftentimes people think what's on the paper is how it shows up on the paper is what's giving them that feeling of authenticity and realness or freedom. And can you speak about how it has nothing to do with on the paper, but
you might have painted just one cloud in the whole painting, and that's all it is. And you might have gone through a transformation inside, or you might have painted lots of little detail and little thing. And you know what happened inside, it has nothing to do with what's put on the paper. It's the attitude, it's the approach, it's how much open you are. This is what is going to really matters. Yeah, but many people, of course, that's part of the collective conditioning. By the way, don't beat yourself up. It is a collective conditioning. It's not you that doing something that's not good. So the collective is to judge that and then take the judgment on you.
Beautiful. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? I mean, I have some questions here, but I'd like to check to see from the crowd if anybody has live questions versus what we have over here. I'm looking to see if somebody's waving their hand. Oh, there's Cherie and Martin. Go ahead.
Hi. Hey, Michele.
Good to see you.
So wonderful to be experiencing this with you. I just have a couple things. I find myself telling other people about your work all the time. It comes up as metaphor for our lives. I mean, it's just, you are a household conversation for us, and something we're always sharing with others. And so I really would love it if I had a way to share you more in this kind of vehicle with others at a way they would be able to really grasp it. And, you know, people maybe who've never done the experience, people who are maybe thinking about doing the experience, and they could hear about it more from an introductory level. And with that, I might be able to talk them into coming to something with me. But when I have to do it and I don't get very far. And so I just truly think it's one of the most remarkable things. And that even though Martin and I don't paint as much as I wish we did, it informs other forms of art that we do. We are thinking in these terms. And so anyway, I just love to encourage that. And also, I'm wondering if we will have this to even share with others. I would love that if we could.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your appreciation. I'm so happy to see how much you take it to heart. And yeah, you know, Cherie had this idea recently of doing some interview and doing more of that. If this thing work, if you, maybe Cherie will answer that. She said she will organize more of these. And especially now I'm older, you know, I don't travel as much. I'll be very happy to go to do that on the web, you know. And
right, I think the web is what most people really, it's really convenient for them. And we've worked with Cherie, and we'll see how well it works when people tap in, you know, this way into those groups. And
very open to it. So Cherie, it's for you now. Want to organize, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say to Michele how grateful both of us are for this process in our life. It really does truly inform our creative life as well as our everyday life. Many times we have discussions about how appropriate the work is in things in our everyday life. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I'm so
true.
Okay. So, Michele, we have one more question, two more questions, and what I think are going to be real helpful is that we have a question on the board that says, in your books, you say creativity rises from love. Could you speak about that?
Creativity rises from love. Yes, the great love that moves. I mean, you can talk like that. You can say the trees are growing because there is love, because there is this creative energy with love. It's love. It wants everything to be good, to be healthy, to grow, to keep responding to the light and the water. So in the same way, this love, this ultimate love, in a way, passes through us with creativity. And ultimately, that's what it is. It wants us to be in harmony with life. It wants us to move into the unknown and discover, because our life before we explore the unknown are very narrow. I'm talking for myself, of course, not everybody, but you know, there is so much unknown that if we explore it, it's going to be like a beautiful thing. And it's the love that wants us, first it wants us to express ourselves. It wants us to take the deposits out that are in the way, because we, from childhood, from whenever, you know, we have accumulated an unconscious mind, you know, but the unconscious mind that has a lot of wound and there's a lot of problem, and it has developed lots of deposit inside. So it wants us to go and to have all that move. What else than love could be doing that? It's healing. It wants us to heal. It wants us to be well. It wants us to be in harmony. Harmony is health. Health in the being, not just in the body. So, I mean, I receive it like love. You know, I can use that. I know it might scare some people to talk like that, but it's just, what else? It's positive. So it's love. And yet at some time you have to go into the dark out of love. It loves you so much that sometimes it puts you in the dark. Because when you are in the dark, you're going to learn more of this unknown. And it could be in the painting, it could be this kind of insight. Yeah. It does that. You see, real love does not mind making you suffer at times. Real love. Because it knows that it's going to transform you. Sometimes I think human love is different. Human love just always wants good. But if you need to work through something, if you need to understand something, to see something you have never seen before, sometimes it's going to hurt to open these doors. And love, the love of expression and creativity, at times wants you to go through that. But it's out of love. It's not because something is bad or it's not going to make you feel bad. It's just the opposite. That's why I tell people, welcome the images, no matter dark or light. It doesn't matter. The dark knows what it's doing. It's intelligent.
Mm-hmm. So another question we have is, how does this work at the Taos workshops? And so to explain how it works at the Taos workshops, is like we bring in Michele, just like we're talking to her right here, right now. And we have a morning conversation with her. And what happens is that each morning we meet with Michele, and then myself, Jane, Bobby, and a staff of teachers work with you in the studio all the rest of the time. So you're supported in the studio by those of us who, I kind of added up the years the other day, and it was like, some crazy 70-something years or some crazy number of accumulated time that we've spent with this French lady. So we're there with you to support you in your process. Michele teaches in the morning. We have conversations with Michele throughout the day, and also at the end of the day, taking what questions you bring to us, and then she addresses those the following day and allows us to, it's a very much of a live process. We always make jokes that she's in the room, even if she's not there. We feel like she's flying around. We know when she's eavesdropping. So, but we do, it's very much alive. We're there. Oh, wait, Michele, we didn't hear you. Go ahead.
I say I'm watching all the whole time.
We know you are. We know you are. We don't know how you do it, but you do. Well, we know how you do it, but you're getting so clever at it. We don't know you're in the room, because she will ask us questions that it's like, she was sitting on your shoulder. So it's pretty funny, the invisible internet that she gets what's going on in the studio. So to say that the studio in Taos is open 24/7, and it's a 9-day workshop, and it's filled with a fabulous community. You have a support staff that's there. Michele is in the workshop with us, just like she is right now, throughout the time, and the food and the staff at Maple Dodge are great. So if you have any questions about how does it work, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll be happy to give you any more information about how does it work.